Imagine for a moment that you are standing in front of your bathroom mirror. The light is harsh, and you are looking closely at the reflection staring back at you. Maybe you notice the lines around your eyes have gotten a little deeper. Maybe your skin looks a bit thinner, a bit more tired than you remember. Or maybe it isn't what you see, but what you feel. You wake up, and instead of feeling recharged, you feel stiff. You feel heavy. That energy you used to have, the kind that lets you bound out of bed and tackle the day, it feels like a distant memory. Now, tell me if this sounds familiar. You go to the store and you see shelves lined with expensive jars, tubes, and bottles. They promise to turn back the clock. They promise to erase the wrinkles and bring back the glow. We spend hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars on these creams and serums. We are told that if we just buy one more product, one more miracle in a jar, we will finally look and feel young again. But deep down, you know it is not working. You apply the creams, you take the supplements, but the fatigue is still there. The brain fog still lingers. And that stubborn belly fat, it refuses to budge. It is frustrating. It is exhausting. And quite frankly, it feels like we are being lied to. Well, I have some good news for you. And I also have some bad news. The bad news is that the anti-aging industry has been focusing on the wrong thing. They are trying to fix the outside, when the real problem is happening deep inside your body. But here's the good news. The solution does not cost a penny. It does not require a prescription. It does not require a gym membership. In fact, it only takes about 4 minutes, maybe 10 minutes if you really take your time. There is a hidden molecule of life flowing through your veins right now. When you were 20 years old, you had plenty of it. It kept your arteries wide open. It kept your blood pressure normal. It sent oxygen flooding to your brain and your skin. But as we get older, our body stops making it. By the time we hit 60, our production has dropped by more than 50%. This missing molecule is the reason you feel old. But today, we're going to turn that production line back on. We're going to walk through a simple, Nobel Prize-winning movement routine that flushes your body with this regenerative molecule. It is safe. It is simple. And you can do it right there in your living room. Are you ready to stop fighting your age and start reversing it? So, what exactly is this mystery molecule? It is called nitric oxide. Now, please do not confuse this with nitrous oxide, which is the laughing gas you get at the dentist. We are talking about nitric oxide. Scientists often refer to it as a signaling molecule. You can think of it as the body's internal traffic controller. It tells your blood vessels to relax, to open up, and to widen. This allows oxygen and nutrients to flow freely to every single organ in your body, from your heart to your brain, all the way down to your toes. When we are young, say in our teens or 20s, our bodies produce massive amounts of this gas. It is why young people have that boundless energy. It is why their skin looks plump and rosy. Their traffic lanes are wide open, so the traffic flows smoothly. But here is the catch. As we get older, the inner lining of our blood vessels, something called the endothelium, starts to wear down. It is just like the tread on a car tire wearing down over thousands of miles. As that lining wears down, our ability to produce nitric oxide drops like a stone. In fact, studies show that by the time we reach the age of 40, we have already lost about 50% of our ability to produce it. 50%. And by the time we reach 60 or 70, we are running on fumes. We are operating with only about 15 to 20% of the nitric oxide we actually need. Think about what that means for a second. Imagine you are trying to water your garden, but instead of a nice, wide open hose, someone has clamped down on it. The water can only trickle through. The pressure builds up behind the clamp, straining the faucet, but the flowers at the end of the hose are withering because they aren't getting enough water. That is exactly what is happening inside us. When our nitric oxide levels drop, our blood vessels tighten. They become stiff. The heart has to pump harder and harder just to push the blood through those narrow tubes. This is why blood pressure tends to creep up as we age. It is not just bad luck. It is a plumbing problem. But it is not just your heart. When that blood flow is restricted, your brain doesn't get the fuel it needs. So we start to experience those senior moments or brain fog. Your skin doesn't get the nutrients it needs, so it loses its elasticity and starts to wrinkle. Your joints don't get the circulation they need to repair themselves, so they start to ache. We tend to look at all these problems separately. We take a pill for the blood pressure. We buy a cream for the wrinkles. We take a supplement for the joints. But what if I told you that these are not 10 different problems? What if they are just 10 different symptoms of the same underlying problem? A lack of blood flow, a lack of nitric oxide. The medical community calls this endothelial dysfunction, but we can just call it the silent epidemic of aging. We have been taught to accept this. We say, oh well, I am just getting older. I am supposed to move slower. I am supposed to be tired. But I am here to tell you that is not entirely true. Your body still has the machinery to make nitric oxide. It is still there. It has just gone dormant. It has gone to sleep because we stopped giving it the right signals. The exercises we are about to do, the ones creating such a buzz in the anti-aging community, are designed to wake that machinery up. They are not about building big muscles. They are not about burning calories. They are about pressurizing your system just enough to force those vessels to open up and release that stored nitric oxide. And the best part? It happens almost instantly. So, if you are ready to open the floodgates and let that energy flow again, let's get into the routine. Now, before we jump into the movements, I want you to remember one very important rule. Listen to your body. We are not trying to win a gold medal here. We are not trying to impress the neighbors. We are simply trying to send a signal to your blood vessels. If at any point you feel dizzy, or if you feel a sharp pain, please stop. Take a breath. Sit down. You can do this routine standing up, or if you have trouble with your balance, you can do the entire thing sitting in a sturdy chair. Both ways are effective. The routine is built around 4 specific movements. We target the largest muscle groups in the body because that creates the biggest demand for oxygen, which forces the biggest release of nitric oxide. So let's walk through them together. First up, we have the squat. This is the king of all movements because it works your legs, which act as the secondary pump for your heart. Stand with your feet shoulder width apart. Now, simply pretend you are sitting back into a chair. Keep your chest up, look straight ahead, and lower yourself down as far as is comfortable. Then stand back up. If your knees are a little cranky today, or if you feel unsteady, hold onto a kitchen counter or the back of a sofa for support. There is no shame in that. If you need to, you can actually sit all the way down in a chair and then stand back up. We call those sit-to-stands, and they are fantastic for maintaining your independence. We are aiming for 10 repetitions. 1, 2, 3, nice and steady. Next, we move immediately to the alternating arm raise. Stand tall. Lift one arm straight out in front of you until it is level with your shoulder. As you lower that arm, raise the other one. It is like a toy soldier marching in place. Left arm up, right arm down. Right arm up, left arm down. Keep your arms straight, but loose. You want a nice rhythmic motion here. Again, we're going simply for 10 repetitions on each side. If you are seated, the motion is exactly the same. Just keep your spine straight and your feet flat on the floor. Third, we have the non-jumping jack. Now, do not worry. There is no jumping involved. We are leaving the high-impact stuff to the teenagers. Start with your arms down by your sides. Swing them out and up until your hands almost touch above your head. Just like a jumping jack, but keep your feet planted firmly on the ground. Then bring your arms back down to your sides. If you have shoulder pain that stops you from going all the way up, that is perfectly fine. Just go as high as you can without pain. Maybe that is shoulder height today. That is okay. Motion is lotion. The more you do it, the looser those joints will become. Let's do 10 of those. And finally, the fourth movement is the overhead press. Bring your hands up to your shoulders with your palms facing forward. Now, simply push your hands straight up toward the ceiling, as if you are pushing a heavy box off your shoulders. Then, bring them back down to the starting position. Up and down, up and down. 10 times. So that is one round. But here is where the magic happens. We don't just do one round. To really trigger that nitric oxide dump, we need to repeat this cycle 3 times. So you do your squats, then your arm raises, then your jacks, and then your presses. Then, without taking a long break, you go right back to the squats and start round 2. The whole thing should take you about 4 minutes. Now, there is a secret ingredient to making this work. It is not just about the movement. It is about the breath. While you are doing these exercises, I want you to keep your mouth closed. I know, it sounds counterintuitive. When we exercise, we want to gulp air through our mouth. But for this protocol, we want to breathe exclusively through the nose. You see, your sinuses produce nitric oxide too. When you breathe through your nose, you carry that gas into your lungs, which helps open up the airways and improves oxygen uptake by nearly 20%. If you breathe through your mouth, you lose all that benefit. So keep the lips sealed and breathe deep into the belly. And finally, there is one last step to this protocol. I call it vitamin G, gratitude. It sounds a little new age. I know, but there is hard science behind it. Stress is the enemy of nitric oxide. When you are stressed, your body produces cortisol, which constricts your blood vessels. It effectively undoes all the good work you just did. So, immediately after you finish your last repetition, while you are feeling that tingle in your fingers and toes, I want you to close your eyes, place your hands over your heart, and just think of one thing you are grateful for. It could be the sun shining through the window. It could be the fact that your body allowed you to move today. It could be a hot cup of coffee waiting for you. Just take 10 seconds to feel that gratitude. This lowers your cortisol, relaxes your nervous system, and locks in the benefits of the exercise, movement, breath, and gratitude. That is the formula. Now, if you do nothing else, that simple 4-minute routine is enough to change your life. It is the foundation. But for those of you who are feeling ambitious, for those who want to see results faster and really turbocharge that anti-aging process, I have 2 accelerators for you. Think of these as bonus points. You do not have to do them, but they work incredibly well alongside the nitric oxide dump. Accelerator number 1 is what I call the senior sprint. Now, please do not panic. I am not asking you to go to a track and run like Usain Bolt. I do not want you sprinting down the sidewalk. That is a recipe for a fall. When we talk about sprinting in this context, we are talking about effort, not speed. The goal is to get your heart rate up for a very short burst, and then let it recover. You can do this on a stationary bike if you have one. You can do it on an elliptical machine. Or you can simply march in place with high knees right there in your living room. Here is how it works. You move at a normal, comfortable pace for a few minutes to warm up. Then, for just 20 seconds, you give it everything you have got. You pedal hard. You march fast. You pump your arms. For those 20 seconds, you should find it hard to hold a conversation. Then you slow down. You recover for 2 minutes. Catch your breath. Let your heart rate come down. And then you do it again. 3 bursts of 20 seconds. That is it. It sends a panic signal to your body that says, hey, we need more fuel. Open the arteries. And your body responds by dumping massive amounts of nitric oxide into your system. But please, check with your doctor before doing high-intensity exercise, especially if you have a heart condition. Accelerator number 2 is a little more relaxing. It is red light therapy. You might have seen these red panels or masks online. It looks a bit like science fiction, but again, the science is solid. While the exercises we just did stimulate nitric oxide from the inside, specific wavelengths of red light can stimulate it from the outside. When this red light hits your skin, it penetrates deep into the tissue and stimulates the mitochondria in your cells. These are the little power plants that give you energy. It helps reduce inflammation, improves blood flow to the skin, and can even help with joint pain. You don't need a $10,000 medical bed for this. There are affordable panels you can use at home for just 10 minutes a day. So, if you combine the dump movement routine with a little bit of high-intensity effort and some red light therapy, you are attacking aging from 3 different angles. Now, I want to manage your expectations. I want to talk about what you are actually going to feel and how to do this safely. Because let's be honest, we live in a world of instant gratification. We want to do the exercises once and wake up looking 20 years old. That is not how biology works. But the results do happen faster than you might think. Here is the timeline most people experience. Immediately after doing the routine, you might feel a tingling sensation in your fingers or your lips. That is a good sign. That is the blood vessels dilating. You might feel a sudden flush of warmth. You might even feel a little bit clearer in the head, like a fog has lifted. After about a week of doing this 3 times a day, you might notice you have more stamina. Maybe you can walk up the stairs without getting as winded. Maybe you are sleeping a little deeper. And that is a huge one. Sleep. Many people report that their insomnia improves dramatically. Why? Because when your body can regulate its temperature better through improved blood flow, you fall into those deep, restorative stages of sleep much easier. And we all know that sleep is when the real anti-aging repair happens. After a month, this is when you might start to see the cosmetic changes. Your skin might look a little brighter because it is finally getting the nutrients it was starving for. Your hands and feet might not be as cold as they used to be. But we need to talk about safety, because nitric oxide lowers blood pressure by opening up the vessels. If you already struggle with low blood pressure, you need to be careful. If you stand up too fast after doing this, you could get lightheaded. So take it slow. Hold on to something. Also, do not do this routine immediately after a heavy meal. Your body is busy trying to digest food, and diverting blood flow away from the stomach can cause indigestion. Wait at least an hour after eating. And finally, the most important rule of all, hydration. You cannot improve blood flow if your blood is thick and dehydrated. It is like trying to pump mud through a garden hose. It just doesn't work. You need to drink water. Aim for a glass of water before you do the routine, and a glass of water after. If you are dehydrated, the nitric oxide won't be able to do its job effectively. So drink up. We have covered a lot today. We talked about the silent epidemic of endothelial dysfunction. We learned how a simple gas called nitric oxide is the key to keeping your body young, vibrant, and energetic. And we learned the 4-minute movement that can turn that production back on. The squat, the arm raise, the non-jumping jack, and the overhead press. It is simple, it is free, and it is completely within your control. You do not have to accept that getting older means slowing down. You do not have to accept the brain fog, the fatigue, or the aches and pains as your new normal. Your body is an amazing machine. It wants to heal. It wants to be energetic. Sometimes it just needs a little bit of a nudge in the right direction. So, here is my challenge to you. Try it. Just for today. Give yourself 4 minutes. Do the movements. Breathe through your nose. And take that moment of gratitude. See how you feel. And if you found this information helpful, if you think it might help a friend, a sister, or a spouse who has been struggling with their energy, please consider sharing this with them. We are all in this together, navigating these changes, and sometimes the best medicine is just sharing what works. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. Here is to your health, your independence, and your vitality. I will see you in the next one.